Right then, welcome to Ryan's Road podcast number 17. Boom, 17, liking it. True to fashion this week, I might dip and dive. It's just completely unplanned. Like this week, I've had a few things in mind for the podcast, like little perspective, like oh yeah, that'll make a good podcast to talk about and all that one. And then every time I think about it, I'm like, I'll write it down. And then I'm like, no, I remember this shit. And then I sit there and go, bollocks, what was that I was thinking about? So I got a rough idea. One day, we will have a very fucking structured, planned out podcast. But today's not that day. I feel like I made a step towards it, though, regardless of today being unprepared, in that I'm trying to decide now that Fridays will be my recording day. Because as of yet, with family and work and all that shit, it's like it juggles around a bit on the days I actually record. I think I said in last week's podcast that I did with James, we recorded that Sunday evening before the podcast going out Monday morning. So, sometimes that happens. But if I can get in my head that it's always going to be Friday, then it'll feel more structured. And then I might be like, well, yeah, I've got to make notes ready for Friday. So that might help. So that's that. If you're new to the podcast, as always, I feel the need to apologise at the minute with anyone starting the podcast on current ones. I always say, go back to the first one. It's more ideal, I believe, because I bet the regular listeners are sick of this. I like to feel that anyone that's listened through my series so far feels like they're a part of the podcast, like they're with it, like they're becoming it with me. Because as you might already guess from the way I've just been talking, I'm almost documenting my podcast journey whilst doing the podcast. So I put in all the details, so there's no fucking hiding. I'm like fully #real with all the shit I do. So you get to see the mistakes, you get to see me going through it, and I feel like you grow with me as we'll grow with the podcast together. So yeah, back to the first one. If you don't want to do that, you want to jump in with this one, it's cool. I ain't gonna dog you for it. More than happy if you want to sit, watch, listen, because I'm on YouTube as well. It'll all be cool. Right then. I think the first thing I wanted to... Yes, first thing, because I might jump around a bit this week. See how the flow goes. I've touched on this before, but I had a very tiny example recently that just made me think about it a bit more. By the way, I've had my dinner and then came in here and I feel bloated to fuck. So if I get a bit burpy or anything, my apologies. Yes, so a little thing. My dad and my stepmom popped round, I think it was last weekend, because it was my eldest son's birthday. So they come to drop like a card and shit. Anyway, little thing. My son wanted to get something out of the shed, and the shed's got this little latch at the top. You probably might be familiar with them if you've got a shed at home, where it's literally just like this little bit of metal, you just turn it, so it just covers the shed, so it almost just makes like a little stopper. So I says to my son, right, okay, it's in there. If you can open the shed, you can get it. He's 6, so I know it'd be a challenge, but I know that he'd then find something long to try and flick it with. When he glanced at me he'd found something that weren't quite long enough before he'll get there. And then I didn't quite pay attention, but I know his stepmom come and sat back down and he'd got in the shed. And I said, well, did you just do that for him? She went, well, no, I picked him up, he did it. I was like, right, okay. And I went, I'm trying to parent here. I'm trying to raise the kid. And she went, well, I did it for you. And that's where I'll stop the anecdote. Okay, now I'm going to assess it. I found this really fucking interesting. Okay, so from my point of view, I wanted him to accomplish that himself. It's not a mean thing. I know he's capable of it, and he had to put a little bit of effort and thought into how to open the shed. He'd have done it, got what he wanted, but he'd have also felt accomplished in that he managed to open it himself. So he'd have felt good about that. But it's teaching. I'm trying to teach my kids for life. I'm raising them to deal with the world and survive. Right? That's my approach to parenting. So little things like that when they're young, just to open a shed, just teaches them that whole what am I trying to fucking say now? Just getting a task complete task completion sort of thing. You get a little stumbling block in front of you. You got to get over it. So while they're little, obviously you can do little things. So open your shed. So the more interesting thing is that when my stepmother said, "Well, I did it for you," which insinuated that it was a good thing, which insinuated that it's correct, just because it was done with me. I'm like, well, I remember my words were, I said, well, I could have turned out better. Like, I know full well. Like, I was too babbied when I was a fucking kid. I'm thankful I've managed to turn my head around a bit and, like, train myself for life. Because I don't feel like I was myself from my parents and whatnot. I was like, but I said this a couple of weeks ago in one of the other podcasts, is that we seem to get into this pattern of just assuming what we know is the best way for doing things. So stepmom just assumed because she'd done it with me that it's okay to then do it with my son. Like, oh yeah, that's a good thing. It's proven to work, sort of thing. Like, no, not really. Like, you can always do better. I don't want my kids to be like me. I want them to be better than me. I want them to have an earlier start in fucking life. I want to give them the benefit of my life experience. I want them to be ahead of the game so they can enjoy more of the life. Granted, they need to go through some struggle themselves to really learn. But anything I can benefit them now from my own experience, I'm fucking giving it them too, right? They're my fucking kids. But I find it really interesting the amount of people that will be stuck in that thing of, well, that's how it was done when I was a kid. Do you know what I mean? I bet if there's any parents listening to this, I bet you parent the way you were parented. Or things like that. You'll say like, well, when I was a kid I weren't allowed this. Like, it don't fucking matter. You got to look at the world and how the world works and how you're preparing those children for the world and yourself. And friends and family, parents, partners, fucking anyone. Pardon me. Sorry about that. I said I had me dinner. But again, like so when I mentioned it the other week, it's sounding at the minute that I'm being a bit specific about parenting. But it's not. It's anything knowledge based. If you feel that you know a certain way to do something and you think that that's the proper way because it's been passed down to you or that's how you were taught, doesn't mean it's correct. It just means that's how you were taught. It just means that's what you were shown. Doesn't mean there's not a better way of doing it. Doesn't mean there's not a better way to help raise your kids. Doesn't mean there's not a better way to communicate with your wife or husband. Not a better way to drive your car. Not a better way to eat, diet. Better way to exercise. There's a big one. People get really stuck in the ways with different ways of exercising. Different approaches to life, different mentalities, different fucking mannerisms. You know what I mean? I think it's really fucking interesting because I just don't understand why I get like this, because I'll say in lines with my work with being an electrician, when customers have like an issue or something, but it might be with something else in the house that's not electric, but they're asking for my opinion and they're seeming a bit stressed out about it. And I'll always say, the way I like to think of when you come across a problem in life, especially when it's like practical like that, is that there's been so much life that's happened already that someone is bound to have come across your problem already and found a solution. So especially with houses, if you've got a problem specific with a house, whether it's wiring or plumbing or just general decorating, if you're remodeling your house, refurbing your house and you're changing things around, you're like, oh, how do I get around that? Google it, because I'll fucking tell you now, someone's had the same problem as you. You're not that unique. We're all fucking humans and we're all living homes and all that fucking shit. In that way, not unique. Obviously, everyone's unique in their own little way. Don't get fucking jumping on me for that. Fucking snowflakey cunts. But in the same respect of physical things, of physical problems, is again, there's been people alive and thinking for, I'm not an historian, but fuck, it's been what, hundreds and thousands? Is it into the millions? Is it into the millions for how long humans have been around, or is it just hundreds of thousands? It's been a long fucking time, okay, that people have been around. People in, what do they say, are anatomically, I think that's the word, anatomically body, how we are now, you know, not Neanderthalic people, you know, humans, how we look now and how we're made, and our limbs and arms and the brain we've got and everything, the way we are now, we've been around for quite a fucking while already. So you're telling me that people with our brains and everything else over the fucking years haven't come under stress or worry, sadness, anger? You know what I mean? Like, it's already happened. But I often feel that the knowledge isn't actually passed down as well as it could have been. Like, I listen to a podcast called Jocko Podcast. Highly recommend it. I don't mind sending you elsewhere, man. I'm just trying to help you better your lives, and fucking he helps me. And I find it interesting that he was a Navy SEAL over in Iraq when all that was going on and whatnot. And he was fucking good, right? So you pick someone in the modern armed forces, high up, very well trained, very well respected, all that. Like I say, got his whole own podcast. And then he goes through books. There's like kind of like a book review, book reading on his podcast. I fancy doing something like that a bit down the line. But yeah, he'll read through these books and whatnot, and he'll take away like strategies for war and combat and everything else. And it'll be like, it'll be saying like when they started his training, they had to learn that like after his training, like he learnt it out in, what would you say? Bloody hell, I'm terrible this evening. Out on missions and that sort of thing. Like he had to like almost teach himself that sort of stuff. But then he'd be reading books from people fucking like Napoleon and shit like that. And it's like they're there in this book detailing how to deal with like battle. But it hasn't been passed down. In the example specific of war, it's because there seems to be war times. So you'll have a time of war, so a lot of combat going on, and then obviously because it's constantly going on, everyone adapts to it and they're learning, because obviously every day they're trying not to die and they're trying to kill the enemy. So when you're doing that day in, day out for fucking years, like anything that you do continuously and consistently, you get good at it. Yeah, agreed? So that happens, and then all these people come through, and obviously some people rise above others and whatnot, and they become the best, and then they go off and write these fucking books, and then we have more of a peaceful time, and the knowledge gets lost. It's in the books, but it doesn't get generationally passed down. Sorry, I'm burping again. There was one I really like. There's another one, Dan Carlin, Hardcore Histories. I really like his series about the Khans, Wrath of the Khans, about the Mongols. And that's a great fucking example as well, where they were like nomadic horse people, right? And it was like, I think it's like the plains of Russia, where you can imagine it's just the fucking grasslands, isn't it? Big fucking expanses. And they used to be like little tribes all dotted around, and they used to all fight against each other. And then good old Genghis Khan comes along, fucking unites all of them, and they go off. They almost conquered the world, by the way, which again, it's just interesting as fuck. But it shows you within that like history how it goes with the generations. So you got the generation that started off living on this nomadic steppe, it's called. It's just this big expanse, grasslands. So they're just literally living off the fucking earth, man. Like salt of the earth guys. Like, we've got kids riding horses when they're like fucking 6 or something daft, you know. Strength of the fucking bows they can pull, all that sort of really interesting, cool stuff. But what I'm getting at is how after you only get a couple generations of them, so you have like the generation that's literally come from the steppe, like really rough, hard, they've come out, all these little tribes have banded together to make the one big massive fucking army. They've gone out, almost conquered the world, but then when they've like took over like China and like fancy places like that, they've got nice clothes, better weapons, all this sort of stuff. And then obviously the next generation, their kids are born into already having nice clothes, fucking nice weapons, nice horses, like, fucking people that wait on them, sort of thing. And then you get a generation after that, and it's like none of those had to go through the real hardships that the original generation had to. So you can see how, with only within like 1 or 2 generations, like the knowledge sort of thing can just fucking slip, because it hasn't been passed on, because I haven't had to really dig down. And especially now, if you look at, like, I think the Mongol country, if you look into anything to do with, like, the Wrath of the Khans and whatnot, and Genghis Khan and all that, with how they're described, it looks and sounds nothing like Mongolia today. It's crazy. And it's all, like I say, I just get really interested with this thing of how I always like to ponder about how, like, there's really fucking old people, man, like people in history that were clever cunts, man. They could see the world, they knew how to talk, that, you know, relationships with other people, how to talk to other people, how to handle their own mind and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, why aren't we all like fucking geniuses now? And it's just because there seems to be this fucking cycle of, like, learning, and then it just starts again. Some things do get passed down. Obviously, we have progressed, granted. Some of it, I think, you know, comes across begrudgingly, doesn't it? Like, you get wiser as you get older, but then you get resentful to the youth because you probably hate yourself. There's probably some self-resentment there for the mistakes you made when you were younger. So when you look at the younger generations that are currently young, you'll resent them because they've got the youth that you haven't got. And then you won't want to bestow the knowledge or wisdom that you've got upon them, because you're like, no, why the fuck should they have it easy? I had to learn the fucking hard way. I had to fucking suffer through it. Why don't you? It's like, yeah, it don't quite work like that, you twat. So you're just going to let them suffer just the way you did, to then end up like you are old and wise, but then doing it to the next generation then, so then you're not actually getting anywhere. I don't claim to be amazing, okay? But that's why I do what I do with my kids. Like, I'll put them in situations where I feel they need to physically deal with a certain issue themselves, and I'll give them a nudge. But I want them to learn more than me, and know more than me, and become wiser than me, and then they can do it with their kids, because I want it to grow. I want to set the fucking trend here, at least within my family, and if I can help anyone else fucking do it, then great. This half links to what I said again a couple of podcasts ago about I think you should have to have a fucking license to have kids, because that's half the problem. Is that I say, since becoming a parent, there's people with kids and then there's parents, right? And there's ones that, you know, accidentally have a kid, like, or they get put into it through like society's expectations. Or we've been married, we've been living together, we've got married, what do we do next? Or fucking my mum keeps asking when we're gonna have grandkids and blah blah blah. So I guess like what we do at our age is we have kids. This doesn't always result in shitty parenting and ignorant kids, because some people, like, I was only with my missus 6 months when we found out about my first baby. Like, and then he was 6 months old when we had our next one. So like, but I'm happy and I'm solid with my wife and my kids, and that's it, done. And I'm raising my fucking kids, and I keep on top of my relationship with my wife, and we're fucking good. And that's how it is. Obviously, from the beginning, at the start, I bet there was plenty of people around us going, well, that ain't gonna fucking work, they haven't been together long enough. But they don't know me properly. Hang on. Losing me track. Said that parents, kids, yes. Kind of back with it. So that's the thing, because there's so many kids then being born and brought into the world that then aren't raised and parented to handle the world. They're then a few steps behind. They become adults like that. So then there's that cycle then of just people that aren't, children that aren't raised into being fucking people. So I really think you should have to have some kind of a fucking test or a license before you should have to be allowed to have kids. Now, I know there's some people who'd be like some human rights bollocks about that, but I really think you should. There should be more than just fucking birth control. If anything, that makes it too lax. Where did I hear that the other day? I heard it. I was talking to someone, and I think, or was it something else I was listening to? Sorry, I'll get to the point. Back in the day, there weren't fucking contraception or anything, so it was like, I think you took it a bit easier with where you were sticking it back in the day. Whereas now it's like, oh, you could just go get a fucking pill after I fucking jizzed in you, bitch. It's like, not my problem. And then when they go, well, I'm keeping it, you're like, oh. It's just fucking a whole load of fucking mess, isn't it? Then you know I'm right, though. Right, in terms of, like, the knowledge base with what I'm saying. Like, we should all be trying to better ourselves and then better the next generation. So then the whole, fingers crossed then, the world will improve over time. Because you'll have more well-rounded, intelligent, conscientious, empathetic, understanding, strong, reliable people. Less damaged. Because they would have had a shitty upbringing and whatnot. Now, humans are quite resilient in that respect. Like, there's plenty of people out there that are fucking amazing humans and they've had a terrible childhood and upbringing. Eminem, there's an easy one. One I've listened to recently, David Goggins. If you don't know about him, just Instagram him, Google him. Fucking, if you get his book, even better. Mate, he was fucking beaten like fuck as a kid, and I mean like 6. Like, fucking ruined. But the person he's turned out to be is amazing. So you do get some really strong personalities come through that manage to fight through the shit and don't get damaged that much, or they get damaged in a way that they actually manage to twist and turn into a positive to just give them drive for the rest of their life, and it's cool. But for the majority, it don't work quite like that. Half the time, it's actually the ones that are babbied that are actually the worst ones. Because half the time, the damaged ones, as bad as it is going through something really traumatic or hard when they're young, they get made aware early on that the world is a harsh place and that it is capable of being fucking horrible, because that's what the world is. Like, that's what life is. It can be fucking horrible. It can be beautiful, but it can be fucking horrible. Whereas when you get someone that's been fucking doted on or babbied or shielded sort of thing, they're not prepared for the world. So they're the ones when they get older and shit happens, it's like, oh, why me? I don't understand. Why is this happening to me? Because they've not grown up with any resilience to the world. They're not ready for it. They can't cope. There was I quite like Jordan Peterson a lot, and I just finished his second book, and there's a bit in there where he goes on about one of his clients that was having like these night terror type things, and it basically turns out half of it is down to that he was brought up religiously by his parents to believe that all adults were angels and they could do no wrong. And then he had an argument with his boyfriend or whatever, and it was the look in his eyes when he realised that like this person wanted to do him harm, like really wanted to kill him. And his brain couldn't compute that, because he's like, well, adults are angels. They're beautiful and perfect. Yet someone was actually trying to harm him, like you could see it in his eyes. And I think it was years after, and the guy was just having night terrors, and he'd wake up with his arms over his face and everything. It's like because he wasn't prepared for the world. Personally, there's a couple, like it's like my wife's best friend, and then something to do, I think, a sister or something else. Someone, is it that one? Either way, it's an example of someone being split up, but they've been split up for like 8 years, but the one keeps going on about the other one. And it's like, yeah, you clearly weren't ready for the world, were you? Because in their head, it's like, well, why? Why did that happen? Like, it could be something I've done. Blah de blah. It's like, well, yeah, because the world's a fucking harsh place, and you need to be ready for it. You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared for shit to go fucking Pete tongue all the bastard time. Every fucking day. Every day it doesn't is a fucking good day. When you have your normal mundane day where just nothing really fucking happens and you're just plodding along, do you know how lucky that is? To not have at least some shit come along. It's rare. There's always at least a tiny bit of shit, even if it's just you woke up late, you got halfway out the door and forgot your keys, you got to work and realised that you'd left your fucking lunchbox at home. You know what I mean? Just little things. It doesn't have to be that someone's died or you get cancer or something like that. It can be your favourite TV show got cancelled and your favourite food isn't in the fridge, and then you were meant to meet up with your mates but they let you down. Those 3 little things would be enough to make you sit there and be like, fuck's sake, this evening's ruined. And it's like, is it alright? Calm down, mate. It's only a couple of little things. Do you ever find that where you get really upset about something, it really winds you up or upsets you, and then when you try and tell someone else about it, as you're saying it, you go, it don't sound as bad now. Because in the moment, you're all emotional and you're a fucking idiot. And you're like, blah! You can't fucking understand it. But then when you're saying it out loud and saying it to someone else, and you're a bit more calm and composed, and it's after the fact, you're like, actually, yeah, I didn't need to react quite like that. That weren't quite so bad, was it? Was it really? Well, then, especially with kids, you get a lot of that with kids. I always point this out to the wife. Like, half the time, I might be getting a bit stressed out with my boys, and I say to myself in my head, like, I'm only feeling like this because I'm thinking of work and this and that and this, and then the kids being a bit like kids, not naughty kids, they just want attention, and they're fucking toddlers, my kids. And then that on top, it's like I'd prefer it if you were just all quiet and like still little statues and were just happy for like 10 minutes while my brain deals with all this other stuff. But they ain't gonna fucking do that because they're toddlers, they're kids. Because those just doing what they're doing on their own isn't annoying, and it's perfectly fine. So I've gotten better at telling myself that in between the situation, so I'm aware, like, right, I'm not actually feeling like that about them, I'm feeling about that about the big picture. So I need to compartmentalise and be like, right, can't worry about that right now, not until I get my van and I've actually went through my diary and spoke to the customers for the next week, right? So fuck that off, I can worry about that right now. That's a good way of dealing with stress and shit like that. Is if really try to, when I talk to my missus, if she's had like a problem, she deals with this stuff hard. She's quite open about it. She put posts on Facebook and stuff as well. We're both very real like that. I'm just going to flip the camera before it runs out so we don't get a shitty awkward edit. There we go. So it cuts off after half an hour, and it said like 28 minutes, so I thought best turn it off and on again. Yeah, if my missus is like upset, you know when your missus is there, or your husband, whatever, you're like, what's up? And they're like, oh, nothing. But you're like, you'll get that little voice and you go, don't be a twat. I know you. I know when you're not right. Just fucking tell me. Because you can start to get annoyed yourself. So try and hold that. Because it's not their fault, right? Calm your shit. And I'll say, can you list for me? Or can you tell me? Come on, tell me one thing. What's up? And then she'll say, oh no. Oh, the house is a mess. I'm like, right, okay. Anything else? And I'm worried about this. And blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. Anything else? About, well, there's that and blah, da, da, da. Okay. Anything else? And I'll keep saying it until she's said everything. By the time she's said everything, she's already feeling a little bit better. Right? Because when it's in your head, it's just, you can't compute it. I reckon you probably between 3 and 4 things that you can handle in general. Some people it might be 1 or 2 before your brain just goes, bleh, fuck this. So you might be like, right, okay, I'm trying to think about my work and my job because I've got a lot of project coming up or a meeting today or whatever, blah blah blah. And then the wife's asking you about stuff to do with dates with the kids got planned for after school stuff. I don't know, let's say they play football and they've got a match coming up, right? So asking you about dates and that, if they're clashing. And then Pardon me. This is terrible. I'm sorry for the burping this evening. And then you remember that you got your car booked in at the garage and something else. Oh, what else could we have? You'd promised to go and get cat food the evening before, but you've forgotten how the cat's got no food, so you need to remember to get some on your way to work. You get the point now. You get my picture. So you'd have all these little things, right? Once you've got a fair few of them, for every person it's different. Like I say, some might be 2, some might be 5, some might be 10. Jumping on there a sec. Sometimes, I know I'll get this, where you can start worrying about the future things as well. Like if it's work, you might then start actually worrying about, like, where am I going with work and where I'm actually headed, and do I want to stay in this job, and like, what if I do? Will this happen? Like I said, I'm trying to paint this picture here. Like, your brain runs away with you with all these issues and problems, and just like all these bullet points. You just picture like some little person sat there with a fucking pad and a pen, and he's writing it, and then suddenly, like, he's writing like a fucking speed typewriter with every little problem your brain suddenly fucking throws at you, and then you just go, oh, like, the writing goes blurry, the little man writing, it's gone, it's just a big ball of ink, and you're like, I can't handle all this, like, it's too much right now, fuck off, leave me alone, it's too much. So what you need to do is fucking write down or say out loud every single fucking thing separately. Writing down is obviously better because it literally gets it out of your head and it's there in front of you and you can see it. And then when you can see it and they're all there, you can literally then just pick the top one. You can literally ignore the rest of the list. When you've got it all in your head, it's hard to ignore half the list and focus on one thing, because it's your thoughts that are doing this to you. So they're constantly still trying to bang through the door and throw these thoughts back at you, like, no, just let me think about this one. But if you can just write it down and look at that one, then you got your eyes engaged and you got something visual, so your brain's obviously doing that. So there you go, you're working it with something else. So you do that, and then what you do is you work through each individual thing that you're worried about. Straight away you look at it and you go, right, that's the problem. Can I do anything to better that problem right now, right this minute, right now, where I am, at home, work, whatever? No. Okay. If it's a yes, we'll go with a yes first, sorry. Yes, you can. Right, what can you do? Then next to that, write down what you could actually do now to do that. Or it might be now in the concept of, or confines of, like, this week or this month, like, well, yes, what I could do is talk to the wife about it when I get home. So talk to the wife about it when I get home. Cool. That actually comes as more of a no, isn't it? Because you can't do it right now, you got to do it later. So either way, if there's anything physical, you can do it, right? If there's nothing you can do now, nothing you can do later, like it's literally fuck all, then you need to not worry about it. I'll get this with work, and I'm like last month I didn't pay my rent, so I've obviously been behind. So like, when I think about that, all I say to myself is, did you go to work today? And I go, yes. Like, what else are you going to fucking do then? If I was on my fucking arse and I hadn't paid a bill, and I weren't fucking working and weren't earning money to get together to pay that bill, then I'd be like, right, how can I work? How can I go and get money? And I'll go along that route. But this minute, I'm like, I've got work. I'm booking more work in. Like, nothing else I'm going to do. Just work. Cool, right. Not worried about it. I have to keep telling myself that, though, because it ain't this straightforward. So it ain't a straight away fix, you fucking lazy bastards. Is it? You have to have the tools. I'm trying to help give you the tools to help manage your mind on a daily basis. I'm not trying to get you to listen to this and be like, oh yeah, I'm fixed now, I'm never going to worry about anything again. It don't work like that. You got to work on this shit. Back to the list. So you just work your way through the list doing that, because there's going to be things that you cannot do jack shit about, and you're probably already doing what you can about them. When it's like that, you just got to tell yourself that, listen to yourself and believe what you're saying and get on with it. There might be, but then you'll probably find there's a few things on that list that you can tweak, where you can say, right, well, tell you what, I'll stop buying those bars that are like with... No, I was going to go with money. Let's go with like a fat loss thing. Right, okay. I can't get on a full diet right now, but what I can do is stop having a whole pack of biscuits every fucking day. I'd have half a pack. You know what I mean? Again, with like problem solving, with stresses and stuff like that, people seem to jump to an extreme. So if it's a diet, they're like, right, I've got to get on it. I've got to go to the gym and fucking do like 2 hours of cardio every day. I've got to cut out all my fucking shit. I've got to eat fucking broccoli and raw chicken and yes, that look, hey, if you've got the willpower and you can do that, all the more to you. Fucking go for it, because that would work. Most people, not quite so much. They'll start that, and because it's such a sudden change and it's a lot of effort, they do it for a week, see they've lost like hardly anything, and go, oh fuck this. Because what happens is, for the amount of effort you put into something, you want to see a relatively equal gain. Okay? So if you're putting a lot of effort into something, you want to see a lot of gain. Because people are impatient. Not many people like to work really hard at something and see fuck all gain from it, because it makes you go, what's the point? So you're better off going incremental. You're better off going, right, I'll start cutting out that snack, and then maybe those, try the first week of just halving them out of that, and then maybe the next week go a little bit less, because especially for weight loss and things like that, it's a long-term game. I don't think diets that are meant for the short term, like I say, sometimes it works, but for the long term, you're better off just changing your lifestyle for the long term, not doing a really hard diet to get rapid weight loss. And I just don't think that's the best way. On that subject about food, I know I'm trailing off a little bit, but it all kind of comes full circle. Then I'm just trying to help you better yourselves. With food and crap like that, I always say the bucket. I always say this with just like incremental stuff as well, but specific with food and calories, you got a bucket, and it's underneath a running tap, okay, and the bucket's got a hole in the bottom. The running tap is your calorie intake. That's the food. That's what you're eating. It don't matter what kind of food, okay? Obviously, yes, there are some that would be better. Some foods contain more calories than others, and blah, blah, blah. I ain't going to tell you how to suck eggs, man. You know that if all your calories is just fucking biscuits and sweets, then you're going to feel like shit just eating general crap. Anyway. Oh, it's fucking tummy, man. I'm trying to burp again. I need to have smaller dinners. Right, the bucket. So, the tap with the running water. Your calories coming in, food you're eating. Right, hole in the bottom is your calories you're burning. That's the water going out. Okay? So, obviously, if the water's running into the bucket quicker than the hole in the bottom can allow, the bucket's still going to overflow. Boom, there's your fat. Okay? You want to stop the bucket from overflowing. So you've either got to slow the fucking tap down or make the hole bigger at the bottom. Or you can do both. So if you want to make the hole bigger at the bottom, you've got to exercise. You've got to burn your calories. You've got to burn more. But the one example I always use is that like a 10-15 minute run, in calories wise, is about the equivalent. It's about 100 odd calories, 115, something like that. It's the equivalent of a Freddo bar. Which, if you're not familiar with Freddo bars, it's just a little chocolate bar, like probably no bigger than your thumb, bit bigger than your thumb. And it's like, I like to say that if every piece of food had, you get your guideline daily amounts written on your food now. If we had an equivalent exercise on each item of food that was your equivalent of calories to burn it off, people would second think about what they eat. But oh, fuck it, yeah, I'll just have that chocolate bar. Oh, if I eat this, I need to do a 10-minute run. Oh, fuck it, I'd rather just not eat it. Boom, it goes away. So yes, slow the tap down. Eat less calories, just eat less, yeah? Or keep eating what you fucking want, but you're going to have to make the hole at the bottom bigger. You're going to have to fucking exercise more because you burn more fucking calories. It's that simple. Like I say, You can just eat fucking McDonald's and shit if you want, but it probably means you can have a Big Mac meal for the day and that's it, because that's your calories gone. Oh god, I've strayed so far from my original point now. I don't know where the fuck I am. How the fuck did I get to there? Oh, I don't fucking know. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Right, I think we'll call it there, because I think we got through a fair bit. It's nice. I try not to have these podcasts too long. I like them to be nippy. I think once I'm more established, I might start going into the 1 hour, 2 hour podcasts, because I'll have time to plan. But for now on, I'm just trying to spitball some knowledge to you, a bit of perspective. I don't want to keep it too long. So yeah, along the lines of helping your mind and whatnot, I've got a fitness channel as well on YouTube, Ryan's Road Fitness. So the main aspect of my fitness channel at the minute is my vlogs. So I vlog my morning workouts that I do at around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, because I've got 3 young kids and I work full time and I do this shit. Like, I record podcasts and I record my workouts and I also then edit them and vlog them and everything else. It all takes up time. But the idea of it being is that when I see fitness stuff, especially in the calisthenics and bodyweight training way, which is what I partake in, I always see people that look fucking cracking, man. Ripped to shit. They can do all the skills like handstand push-ups and stuff. But there's no relatability there. I'm just looking at it going, yeah, cool. You do that all fucking day, mate. I've got to go to work. Like, yeah, cool. Once you finish work, you do that all fucking evening, mate. I've got 3 young kids trying to raise. Like, I ain't got the time you have. And I know everyone's like me, so I know a lot of people would probably think like that, and then that's where the book stops. It's like, well, I can't relate to him. I ain't got fucking time like he has, so that's why I can't do it. So I'm doing my fucking vlogs to show you that, like, look, I've got all this going on, and I still make time, and I feel better for it. Like, some dads will say to me that, and I'm like, how'd you get the energy to do that? I'm like, that's what gives me the energy. If I don't get up and do a workout in the morning, man, I'm sluggish. I say the fog's there, just foggy. Ugh. Just doing 10 minutes of cardio in the morning lifts the fog, because you get 2 different ways. You see, you get the bit that I'm no scientist, don't fully understand, but I just know, I like to think of it more of an evolutionary point, that I bet most people don't get the heart rate that far above resting during the day. But there's something about just getting your heart pumping, hitting that cardio like above 140 beats per minute. And you don't have to go on a fucking treadmill. You don't have to get an exercise bike. You don't have to get a row machine. You don't have to join a gym and to go on the equipment. You can just find some space in your lounge, your kitchen, your fucking garden, whatever. I do it in my garden. Just jog on the spot, kick your legs, do some fucking punches, drop down to the floor and jump back up, do some jump squats, do some walking fucking squats. Just move your body and just keep moving for 10 minutes and don't stop for 10 minutes every morning. Mate, it will change your life, I swear. It'll get your heart pumping, it'll get you out of breath, it'll get you going, and it'll just lift the fog. I can't tell you scientifically how it does that. All I can tell you is it fucking works and it does it. After that, I'll just do my strength training. And I always word it with the strength training. Again, you don't have to join a gym for calisthenics. You can do it all with a door frame pull-up bar and a set of gymnastics rings at home. And you don't have, if you want to build muscle, you can do the movements and just add weights, so weighted pull-ups, weighted dips, weighted push-ups. Or you can go to harder progressions where you do push-ups from your waistline, you do muscle-ups instead of pull-ups and all that sort of lovely stuff. It's great. If you just want to maintain yourself and be healthy, sweet. Just build up to just doing a round of 10 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 10 dips, 10 sit-ups or leg raises. Do that, wait 5 minutes and do that round again. Do that 3 times every morning. That'll maintain you, that'll keep you going. And you'll feel good that you've done it, because it's like a goal tick. And if you want to work on reps or something, let's say you can do 3 pull-ups then, and you start doing that, so you're just within your reps you're doing 3, but then by the end of the week you're doing 4 pull-ups. You're telling me you ain't going to feel good about yourself, because you've put effort into something and then you've gained something from it, make you feel good. So it's all there. So that's why I do my fitness channel, because I started my fitness for my mental health. I didn't start exercising because I'm like, I want to get buff, I want to get ripped or anything like that. I said this last week, so I work out with James, who was my guest last week on my podcast, and I messaged my best mate and I said, like, look, we're going to be in my house tomorrow, we'll be in my garden gym, because I tried it 2 years ago. I said, because you need to fucking change and I need to fucking change, and we're going to do it. And we did, and mentally I've been way better since. And that's why I do it. And that's why I mention it in the podcast. Not because I'm just trying to make people watch my fitness channel as well. I'm like, because I want to help people. So here I'm talking to you literally about your mindset and how we think about things. But what I'm saying at the end of the podcast is, look, to help that, fucking exercise. You don't have to be buff. You don't have to want to lift the world above your head. Just general physical activity will fucking help you with your head. Promise. Little touch on with the end of that, if you do get into fitness stuff and you start taking like protein shakes and whatnot, I've started eating these Warrior bars that the wife was getting from Asda. They're only £1, and I was like, sweet, cool, weren't expecting much. I ain't gonna bullshit you. I'm not here saying they're amazing, but they're nice. They're flapjack bars that I eat. I eat the flapjack ones, but they do a lot of protein shakes and stuff like that. Blah blah blah. Anyway, I got in touch with them because I like using their stuff and I'm using it already. And I've seen this with other. Obviously, it's what you're doing it online now. You get a brand that you like and see if you can do a deal with them and whatnot. So I've got like a code thing. So if you go onto Warrior supplements and you use WS Ryan's Road on your code on your way out checkout, you get 27% off. You don't have to. I'm not here. I don't want to turn my podcast into one of them things, but I'm just saying, if you want to use that stuff, or if you already do and you want to get a bit off, like, you can use that code. Carry on. Like I say, I was eating the shit anyway. Already doing it. The flapjack bars are nice. The crunch bars that they do are fucking banging. I really like them. The missus bought them back the other day. I was like, oh, this looks different. Try that out. It's fucking pucker. The flapjack bars are nice. I have them every day with me lunch to get me extra protein in. So yeah. So there's that if you want to go the supplement route, if you really want to get into your training. But you don't need it. I'm not pushing it on you. I do say what you need is at least 10-minute cardio to get your fucking heart pumping, and just a little full body workout. That's a new one. My battery died in the middle of me bloody talking. I didn't notice it. I always get too caught up watching the clock to make sure it don't go over that half hour. I forgot to look at the battery. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm not pushing that shit on you. I'm just saying, if you want to use supplements and you like the look of that stuff, you can use that code to get a bit of money off. That's all it is. But yeah, what you do need to do, and I always really recommend, is a full body workout, light in rounds. Like I say, if you can get to doing 10 reps, if you can't, do whatever reps you can. So if you want to do 3 pull-ups, 3 push-ups, 3 dips, if you can't do a full pull-up, you do whatever. I'm getting a bit too much into this. This is what the fucking channel's for. So yeah, Ryan's Road Fitness, that's my fitness channel. As always, comments, feedback. Love to start getting any, because I'm getting views. Some fuckers are watching. I do this myself. There's a channel on Instagram, page, this like army guy, and he does all calisthenic stuff. And I commented on his post today, and I said, like, if no one's told you today, mate, I went, you're fucking cool. And I put, like, I've followed you for ages. I'm always looking at your stuff, and I always think you're fucking cool. I don't know why, I've just never said it. So, like, just want to say, you're fucking cool. And he replied saying thanks and whatnot. But yeah, if you're listening to this, or if you're watching it, and you're enjoying it, or I've said anything that's hit a point, you're like, yes, you're right, like that, come and fucking tell me. Email is ryansroadpodcast@gmail.com, or you can get me on Instagram at ryans.road, or you can get me on Facebook at ryansroad22. If you go on my Instagram, ryans.road, I've got a flow link in the description, which then's got all my links to the YouTube, the podcast, my Facebook. That's all there then. If you're on YouTube, I'll probably have it in the description, to be fair. So yeah, let me know. Even if you just want to tell me I've got a big nose, I don't mind, because you won't be lying. Right, I'm going to go. I'm going to love you. I'm going to leave you. I'm off. I'll speak to you. See you next week.